Hello guys, today being 30th of September 2024, TapBitGlobal, one of the most popular exchange, had hammer with ICE blockchain, being 30th of September 2024. And many questions were actually asked, and ICE answer all the questions that was asked ahead of ICE mainnet that is coming soon. I want you to hear from the horse's mouth by listening to the
many users. So we had to go back to the drawing board and redefine and rethink the entire infrastructure. And a few months later, in July last year, we had our, let's call it, official launch of the application, which was very successful because we actually at that point had 1 million users just after just 1 week. And then when we ended up the phase one, which was in February this year, we had 9 million users using the app, which was a great, those were like great numbers back then. They are still, great numbers nowadays. A very big community from this perspective. And then, this February, we said, okay, it's time for us to do the distribution for the users. And initially we wanted to just to do like a distribution on decentralized exchange. So we announced that we want to do the distribution on Uniswap. But then it was, let's say, a turning point and a surprise moment for us when we got bombarded with messages from a lot of top exchanges, that were interested in listing us. And yeah, we went forward with that, and we had a lot of great listings in the beginning, which was February this year. And then during the last month, we also had some other listings. And last week we actually had the biggest number, I would say, from this perspective. Last Friday, actually, we had 22 exchange listings, which means that as of today, the ICE token is tradable on more than 40 exchanges, centralized and decentralized. So it was a great validation, from this perspective for us that we are on the right track. And at that point, we said, okay, we ended up this phase one. We ended up we did the distribution. We had the listings. It's time for us to focus on the phase two, which was, which is actually basically building the mainnet itself, which for us has two main components as of now. One of it is the blockchain itself. Yeah, so we are a layer one blockchain. We are a fork of the open network, and the other part is building the mainnet application, which for us would be like the starting point for what we actually are building as a main product, let's say, which is this drag and drop application builder, which will allow everyone, with little to no knowledge, like no technical knowledge, to be able to build their own applications in a decentralized environment, so their own decentralized applications from various use cases like websites, blogs, social platforms, and so on. And yeah, basically, I would say that would be the the product that we are focusing on, and what we actually are building from this perspective. So the blockchain itself is designed in a way to be able to allow this to happen, because when we think about how many interactions would be within the users and so on, we had to make sure that we are doing this on top of a blockchain, which basically supports like a high number of transactions per second, and it has like a low transaction cost. And that was the reason for us at that point, that we chose to do the fork from the from Ton, from the open network. But then we identified some functionalities that we have to build on top of that, in order for for the ecosystem itself to sustain what we want to build and what other people would want to build, from this perspective. And yeah, that would be, I would say, the project in like a little bit more broader version.
Yeah, it's
Shortly, yeah, as I said,
yeah, just short, as I say. Yeah, good. I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
very clear for our followers also gonna understand, like getting better to having that information that you're telling us. So thank you very much, Robert. Are you ready for my second question? So it's gonna be about teamwork. So, and commitment, of course, teamwork and commitments are very important in a project, in every project, not just yours. And so it's the grounded and promising reality. So can you tell us about your background? I mean, team's background and the technical infrastructure, please?
Sure. I just one follow-up question here. Are you still hearing me well? Because I got your feedback.
Yes, I can hear you very well. But sometimes
That
it's coming and going, so probably the network, but yeah, we hear you very well.
I have some like wired earplugs just in case, like for this kind
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah. It's okay,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah. Good. So yeah, speaking here about a little bit about the background and everything related to the teamwork. We actually been in the tech industry for 12 years as of now. So back in 2012 we started building software products, and I would say from this perspective, a big advantage for us was that everything that we did before was for our own. Our expertise was related to everything product management related, from like having just the basic idea, then to develop on top of it, do the actual design of the application or of the software, both for like technical perspective or UI perspective, and then start developing it, and after that go to the most important part, trying to sell it to the customers or market it, depending on what the product was. So from this perspective, it was a great advantage for us that we had a lot of knowledge from the technical perspective. We also been very close to the blockchain in the crypto industry, since its early beginnings. uh, and we did that fortunately for like from more perspectives. So to give you example here, Julian or Zeus, the CEO, he was involved a lot from the beginning within the industry. He also had like a crypto mining farm. So he was actually, I would say, more on the technical part of it. While, for example, I was in 2017, so that was 7 years ago. I was the executive director for D10E, which was the leading conference on decentralization at that point of time. So I had the chance, to organize blockchain-related events around the world, and it was a great perspective because it was, if you remember, for those of you who are not familiar, it was the time when actually the ICOs were born, and there was a lot of buzz around, and that helped me a lot, at that point, to understand a little bit more about, everything related to the project marketing, about the how to build the product itself, how to make it be very easy to be used by the by the anyone, so having it ready for the end user. So we took all this knowledge, and of course on top of that, having the knowledge of the technical team, which were involved before, some of them in very big blockchain project actually, and some of them just coming from like financial industry, for example, or for like big having big telecommunications services that they have been set up or worked with before. So the mix was great from this perspective, because it gave us a very strong base, for from where to start the project and make sure that everyone is on on the same track, and that everyone understands what we actually want to build. And when it was like the beginning of 2022, we were just a few people, and right now we are 35 people in the team. So we grew a lot in the past months, especially. We still grow, growing the team. So we actually actively looking for various positions, from this perspective. So it
Yeah,
was
so your labs are going bigger, huh?
yeah.
Good. That's why it's catch us, because yeah, very promising, growing projects now.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we know. Sorry to interrupt. We knew that you can do, of course, any kind of project with just a few people if you want, but then the development pace would be a little bit slower than we would want. And blockchain and tech industry, itself is like a very high moving, and fast moving, environment. So we said, okay, during this, especially during the last months, we have to, grow the team, and we have to make sure that we have the development pace that would allow us to build what we want in the time frame that we have in mind. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, when I get ready to questions, while I'm researching you, and I read lots of articles, comments, paragraphs, and even your white paper, and one thing in there caught my eyes very clearly. So, can you tell me a little bit about the section? There was a section there called Privacy and Assurance Levels. So, indeed, how important is safety and privacy to you?
Yeah, so I would say privacy is, if not the core, but one of the core values that we have, together with the transparency, or freedom of speech. So it's something that we are, looking to have as much as possible, especially like from a thinker's perspective. It's something that we always like, even, way before beginning this the ICE project, we had, as a, I mean, I would say as a value ourselves, the team members. So when it came about, building the environment, we had to think a lot about it, especially from like the technical perspective. And we know that it's especially within the last year, within the last months, privacy is a very big buzzword around. Yeah, so we all know, like recent cases with Telegram, and how something went from, let's say, being presented as being private, being encrypted, and went into, yeah, if we need to share your IP address, we will do it. So we knew from the beginning, that we want to build something focused around, especially like from from a thinker's perspective. And the first place where we knew that we need to integrate it was around the identity management service, the one that we call it the Ion ID, because we wanted to give users full control over their identity, over their digital identities. And the I would say there was also a little bit help from like the blockchain technology itself here, because it has this beauty that it can offer identity management, which is self sovereign, from this perspective. So which means that user will be user are able to own and control their personal information without having to trust like a central authority. And because you asked me here about the assurance levels, we followed out like different models, and different ways to do this. And what we do is that we use zero knowledge proofs, for being able to do various verifications for us or third parties without having to actually reveal their actual the user data. So for example, if us as a mainnet application or some other developer has to integrate the identity management system, and for example needs to know if the user has more than if he has more than 18 years old, we are able through those zero knowledge proofs to do this without actually revealing the information, like the age, for example, to the to the end service. So basically that helped us to build a service that can can verify the credentials or can verify the identity without having to reveal the actual data to the users. Now we give them the because there are like different use cases here. So we wanted to give people more options when it comes about how they want to log in, and what will be like the best authentication method within the app, and within like the Ion ID. And we chose to do a passwordless environment. So we had thought of, and to be honest, it was a little bit of discussion here, because you want to build something safe, you want to be something that is private, but in the same time you don't want to create like a very hard user interaction for the end user, because most of the people, especially those coming from Web 2, are not used with like a lot of keys, like private keys, public key, having the codes on the paper and so on. They basically usually just used with the basic email password authentication system. But then we looked more into this new passkey approach that was implemented by most of the device producers within the last years. So we chose to do that, and we're gonna use passkeys for the authentication system, which basically is a very private environment where the user is able to log in by using the device itself. So it can be like an iPhone, it can be like an Android device, it can be like your Windows computer, your Linux computer, and so on. And that was great, from this perspective, because we wanted them also to be able to do the to be able to do it cross-platform, because some people have multiple devices. People have like they want to log in on the desktop too. So we chose to do that, and on top of that, we gave them the possibility to add like a two-factor authentication, just in case at some point you might be able to lose the device. So then they would have to recover the identity. And yeah, from this perspective, fortunately we had the chance to develop something that's very secure, encrypted, and which focuses on the privacy, but in the same time focusing on a very easy experience for the end user. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's very obvious answer. Thank you very much for a very insightful answer. And then my other question is, in fact, one of the most important features that again caught my attention. So it says the recovery mechanism, like recovery mechanism. So could you please explain how the recovery works?
Yeah. So basically, is related to what I said earlier. The advantage of the passkey, of course, is that it allows user to very easily log in within the application. But then the negative part is that if you lose the device, you might be able to lose the access to the entire account. So then we have decided to introduce the recovery mechanism, where we basically allow the users, by using those two-factor authentication backup methods to be able to recover their identity. So basically, we give them three options. We give them the option to add an email address, we give them the option to add the mobile number, and we give them the option to add an authenticator app like Google Authenticator, LastPass, or whatever else they want to use. And in the same time, we also give them the option to choose like a minimum of required methods to be able to recover the account. So if they want, for example, to have like at least two methods, then whenever they would want to recover their identity, they would have to use at least two. Like it can be like, I don't know, email and phone, or whatever they want. So it was a mechanism for built for the end user, to assure him or her that whenever something bad happens, your phone gets stolen, you lose it or whatever, you will still have the ability to recover your identity and log in back into the accounts and make sure that you can just continue using them as before.
Okay, thank you very much. So to be honest, the more I research you, the more I find. So there are so many technological components that I must say that I'm very impressed. So I'm a bit far from technology. So when I make research, and then I can see and I can get more impressed. So what is the technology headed like? I wonder what more you can do in the future than what you did now.
Well, I think use cases are pretty various from this perspective. Because to be honest, as I said in the beginning, we had a vision when we started. So beginning of 2022, we still share the vision now, but we came up with a lot of more use cases and a lot of more applicabilities within the last months. So but I would say, long story short, and as a core mission for us would be onboarding the billions of users from the Web 2 to Web 3, and that can be done for sure in many ways. So there was this idea, and maybe there still is around the market, of building a decentralized big app. Yeah, so like a decentralized Meta or decentralized Twitter or decentralized Instagram or YouTube, for example, where to gather like the entire worldwide audience, like having the 1 billion users, within the decentralized platform. But we know we don't want to say impossible, but it's something that it's very hard to achieve as of as of today. So what we wanted instead is that it was okay. We don't want to do that, but we want to give people, the ability to build their own decentralized applications for their own community. Yeah. So for example, some fitness instructor can come, and they will say, okay, I would want to build my own application, where I can share like tips and videos on how to train for different types of people and so on. But I want to do it in a decentralized environment. I want people to be able to interact there between them if they want to share. We say, okay, we will the framework and the ecosystem gives him the opportunity to do this. And that community of that instructor can be like 500 or 1000 people. It doesn't matter. It can be a small one from this perspective. But if we think about 10,000 instructors, fitness instructors around the world doing the same thing, then it's a great it's a great market. So in the end, you still end up reaching a very big number of people, but you don't do it as one app. You don't do it like everyone please come to the ice fitness app, for example. You just do it by bringing the communities around center person, or center item, for example. So from this perspective, we are focusing on building this environment where trying to build and promote these community driven apps. Yeah. And the apps in this case, being decentralized applications. So think if you would have to think the same way that WordPress did, when they launched like 2003, when they give like everyone, at that time, the possibility to build their own websites, to build their own blogs, where they would gather their community, where they would share their thoughts and so on. And then, like slowly and steady, upgrading to more services like supporting e-commerce and supporting news websites and so on. The same thing is what we are actually building right now. So, but just making it for sure in a decentralized environment and not just focusing, like on solely like websites or blogs, for example. We want people to have the ability to build like chat applications, to build applications with the wallet integration. If they want to be like a social network for their like, either like can be like on a company level or just a community level and so on. So from this perspective, use cases will come for sure, more and more. A lot of integrations that will appear within the next next years. But at the base, what is important is that we are building and upgrading the blockchain itself in a way that it supports and it's scalable, to these billions of users that we are targeting, in a way that no matter how much the ecosystem is growing, we would for us to be still able to sustain everything, and in the same time to keep like the very high transaction per second possible amount, and keep the low cost transaction cost. And yeah, this way for us to be able to grow this ecosystem as much as we can.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I think the ecosystem is going very huge nowadays, and no one can even just predict, So I think that's enough for project now. I want to talk to you about cryptocurrency and your token. So I would like to ask you that the market is very big, of course, and you are not too old project. Like, can you talk about 7 months you've been established yet? So in general, the ICE token was when it was in the first rounded, it was like $0.007. I checked it, all the history, but it's been in stability in the continuous, so it's been the same line, which is very nice. It means like your being stability is very nice. But many experts were just waiting too much from you, and they say that in the future it will be like near future. It's gonna be like $5. So do you think this is how realistic is this? So what's your expectation and thoughts about your crypto values in the future?
Sure. So yeah, from this perspective, yeah, as you said, we had the token for indeed like from January until now, like 9 months, actually 8-9 months, and we were very happy, with the with the timeline, with the progress, with what happened, and especially, to be honest, for everyone, I think knows around this space, is that the market was pretty much volatile within the last month. So there was not like a very clear sign in the beginning of what's actually happening next. But we believe now that we have like a very some very bullish signs for especially for like the last quarter of the year, and for the beginning of the next year also. We actually had like because most of the year, I would say, it was around like 0.005, 0.004, but then during the last week we had like a very big increase in the volume, and also in the price of the token actually. India stands now around 0.0078, which for us, translates to like a fully diluted market cap of $160 million. And yeah, expectations. Everyone has expectations. Everyone has like desires. Where they want for the token price to get. When you say $5, by simple math, that means around 100 billion fully diluted market cap, which sounds big, sounds very big from this perspective. That would put you like number 4 on the coin market cap list. But if
Yeah,
you look at
sure.
but if you look like for others, like Solana, for example, has $73 billion right now, and it was way more a few months ago, so around like 100 and something. When you put it, in comparison with that, it doesn't sound that much off anymore, because every blockchain started from somewhere. Every every layer 1 or layer 2, they they started like from the base, but then coming up with the usability, coming up with use cases, coming up like a lot of community around it. It started to grow both in the value itself of the token, but also like the usage, because it's important to be on the both sides. But yeah, we're seeing, as I said, we're seeing a lot of great signs from the beginning, from this perspective. We know in the same time, we'll be honest, we know that everyone is also in, volatile to the market. So if, from something happens around like worldwide, globally, there are like you can easily like shortly see, ups and downs from this perspective, So, but yeah, from this perspective, we are, very happy with the stability, and especially very happy with the, last few days growth, especially like from volume perspective, and yeah, for sure the market cap also. But yeah, for sure, good things will come. We know that. That's what we are, that's what we are building and fighting for. We know our vision. We know that it's something that people want. We know that we are building something for the good and for the better. And the market will reward you anyway for that. As long as you are focusing on building the product, building the community, doing great things, the market will reward you indirectly or directly.
Okay, yes, you're right. Who knows what will future bring? Yeah. So let's think that I'm your let's say that I'm an investor, right? Why should I choose you? So what attractions or do you have for potential investors, and what activities and the updates and the innovations for me or for them? So can we announce it from here? Why to go with you?
Sure. Well, I would say, and related to what I said earlier, to the to the market cap, to the current market cap, which is right now $50 million US dollars. I would say first thing, and we know that we are still, early stage. So for those of outside interested and looking to invest in a next generation environment, now is the time for sure, because it's when it the return for sure is better, when investing in an early stage company compared to companies that's like well developed and like being on the market for many and many years. But having discussions a lot and around this around this topic, and we like to say that investing in ICE Open Network means investing like in a next generation blockchain ecosystem, which has like a lot of real world utility, and having this vision of driving the mass adoption of Web3, of like the blockchain technologies. It's something that for sure we have a lot of great results in the future, and that starts for sure with the technology infrastructure, because that's actually like the the base of all the functionalities that we are building around. So we know that compared to like other blockchains around, we have like a very scalable layer 1 blockchain with which is it's multi-threaded, AI is multi-sharded, and that allows for a very low transaction fee, and like for very high transaction per second possibility. And that's the some critical item to be able to support this large scale development that we want to do, and those multitude of decentralized applications that people would be able to build using the drag and drop. And other than this, I would say, and that's related, to our latest developments. For those of you who might not know, a few months ago we have launched the Ion Startup Program, which basically allows companies to take advantage of our tap to earn technology and integrate it, and to have like a base for building the integration with our blockchain, and to have like a usability around the real world usability based on that. And we already had 4 projects that we have launched in the last 3 months, 4 months, if I'm not wrong. Starting with the Sunwave, which actually is the biggest, one of the biggest electronic music festivals in the world, and they were actually the first ones that we have launched on the ecosystem, and it was a great success. The application, the TapTorn application, has almost 6 million users as of today, and still growing day by day. And there are other projects that we are gonna launch soon, and a few surprises from this perspective when it comes about collaborations with other layer one blockchains. From this perspective. So as of today, there are like across those 4 projects, we have 12 million users, being registered, and doing tap to earn activities daily there. And we know it's a great trend. I mean, when we started last year, it wasn't like that much of a trend from this perspective, but then a few months ago, it started to become a trend also on those Telegram mini apps. And we knew that it's like a great momentum for us to continue what we actually started last year, and develop this startup program ecosystem more. So I would say it's a combination and it's related to the investors' questions. It's a combination of the technology that we are building, the infrastructure, but then also the community that we have around the products. So we had 9 million users when we had the Ice app, the Tap to Earn app, and now having 12 million users for this for these last 4 Tap to Earn projects, which basically bring us to a little bit more than 20 million users part of the community, which is a big number. Yeah, and most probably is going to be like the biggest layer one blockchain launch from this perspective, in terms of like users being present like from day one. And yeah, we think, and we actually know that that's something very appealing for investors from this perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. So those are my questions so far. 7 questions I choose and I picked for you. But now we have a Twitter questions, and which is randomly found from 3 of our followers. But one question I think you did answer before, like relatedly. But you can add something if you want, and they can get what they want from your answer. So what is the most recent important update, and what are you currently working on? So it's like the first question is that I think you answered that, but if you want to add something.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of, as I said, a lot of great updates recently. As I said, Friday we had 22 exchange listings, and TapBit was for sure one of the great listings that we had. And right now, team is focusing and working on the mainnet, so that's like what we are currently working on from this perspective. But then another thing that we're actually working on as of now is that we are looking to streamline this the process within the startup program. So because we want to give the companies or the ideas, the owners, the possibility to have like a faster time from when they submit the application to when we do the review, we do the calls and everything, to the actual app being ready. So we are working to have like a faster onboarding from this perspective for the startup program, especially now with those collaborations that we're gonna have with other player one blockchains from this perspective. And a lot of things going around, and a lot of things good at the horizon, I would say, from this perspective.
Robert, do you know what? Just forget about one question now. I'm gonna tell you the world perspective. Well, I do like history, so there's one historian called Heraclitus, and he said only thing in the world is change. So the world is changing, definitely. So one of question, I think you answered that also. How many people in your team? So how many team members, and have they enough experience in blockchain field, or do they have any experience with working in crypto or non-crypto projects?
Yeah, so as of today, as I said, 35 people working from all around the world. So for everyone to know, we are a fully remote company
Yeah, yeah,
from this
yeah.
perspective.
I did notice 35. I got the answer,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think the people are wondering, are they experienced?
Yeah. So it's a combination. We had people working before in the tech industry, but like in different environments. Like coming from finance, coming from banking industry. When it comes about like, for example, for the backend, some of the backend developers. We have, however, some great team members that have been working on blockchain project before, and especially on the development side. So we have someone in the team actually who has been head of development at a big layer one blockchain a few years ago. And other than this, as I said, I also had experience with the blockchain industry from like the marketing, events, organizing perspective before. And also on the other PR marketing side, we have people who had worked before with that. But yeah, from this perspective, we do believe that I mean, enough experience is never like enough when you think about it, because you are always learning a lot, and a lot of things comes up, a lot of new ideas, new features. But we were able, like during the last years, every time to find a technical solution for whatever idea we had. So which for us means that from this perspective, the team is prepared for and has enough experience within the blockchain field.
Okay, so last question. Of course, all the projects have mission and vision. So a part of the writing in your white paper, forget about it. Can you tell us from your first hand, I mean from you, so where do you see yourself on your project and also cryptocurrency in 5 years?
Yeah. Well, as I said, we have our vision. We know what we are building, but we are always, not net. I wouldn't say necessarily flexible, but we are willing to, get any new idea, any trend that we might identify, and then be able to go with the flow with that also. So we know for sure that what we are building right now is gonna be well more developed in the next 5 years. But if we have to, like, especially from my side to look at it, I see a world like in 5 years. I see a world where a lot of people around the world are using Web3 decentralized applications. Yeah. So I see people migrate. I mean, and a lot of people who already migrated from Web2 to Web3. But I see them doing that through those community-driven applications, who are actually built on top of the Ion blockchain. Using the using our drag and drop builder. Yeah. So just imagine. I would see the fitness instructor next, to my house, having his own decentralized application where he shares, video courses on how to train, but doing it, in a decentralized, in a safe environment, in a censorship resistant environment, by using, the ICE Open Network ecosystem, and by using the drag and drop builder also. So that's how I would say, like, the ideal world in 5 years from now.
Yes. So it was that for our in today. Thanks for your sharing valuable intro and insight on your project. So can I get your last sentences, please?
Well, I would want to thank everyone for being with us for the last almost 1 hour, and we always say, and for those of you who might not know, we are very active on social media in terms of latest updates and upcoming developments. So for those of you who are not following us yet, please make sure that you follow us for the updates, and for sure also be active there as much as you can. And we like to say that we always have surprises. We just give hints around them, but never speed them out until they until we publish them. So I can say a lot of great things happening this week also. So stay tuned, and yeah, thank you very much for everyone for having me for this session.
So thank you very much. Also, it was very good EMA for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was another EMA with another project. Open. You can check them out in our top bit also. They're already listed there. And as you said, that they're very promising, and you can check all the projects and then decide what you want. But they are still waiting for you in there. Thank you very much for listening to us today, and hope to just having another project with you in the some of days. So don't forget to follow us in our social media also. Have a good week and have a good day, please.